Am I doing this late? Yes. Is it coming out the day before the regional? Yes. Are my rankings a little bit delayed in the fact that I made them right after the regional and I am not taking close qualifiers into account? Yes. That all being said, here are the top 10 for Europe. Starting off with a banger at number 10, we have Williams Result. This did not age well. Flame Breezy Noasaki. I'm sticking with what I had after the first regional. These guys had a very difficult top 16 qualifier run, facing literally the top five seeds. They did not make it through. They ended up making it into the main event and still placed decently there. And so I have them at 10. Number 9, I have Evil Geniuses. That's Catalysm, Ivan, and Tox. This team didn't do too great in the main event. I know they went 3-0 through the top 16 qualifier and really impressed me, but I don't think they ended up making the playoffs. They actually went out 1-3, losing to Team Liquid in the lower round 4. So I have them at 9. Number 8, I have Tundra Esports. This was formerly Top Blokes, and it's Raziers, Rizex, and Casio. This team ended up going top 8 in kind of a surprising run. Honestly, I did not have them that highly placed. I didn't think they would really crack the top 8 in the playoffs, but they managed to do it, and so really happy for them. And I think this team actually does have really solid pieces. I mean, Raziers is a fantastic player. Casio obviously has tons of experience, and Rizex is consistently kicked and slept on, in my opinion. So I have Tundra at number 8. Number 7, I have G1 Esports. That's marked by 8, Atomic and Dorito. I probably rated these guys a little bit too highly going into this season, mainly because of the marked by 8 name. I mean, Dorito, I think he's a fantastic player, but he hasn't really done anything to prove himself just yet. So we should still wait on that to happen. That being said, I do think they're a very solid team. Atomic, from the former Team Queso roster of RLCS X, is also a fantastic player. So hopefully these guys just need a little bit of time. But for now, I do have them at number 7. Number 6, I have Team Liquid, and this was kind of a bummer from this tournament. They ended up going 3-2 through both Swiss stages, I believe. They did drop to that lower round 4 and were able to take out Evil Geniuses in it. They ended up losing to Moist in the quarterfinals in El Splashico Classic. This is a Chronic Atau and Oski, and I still think it's a fantastic roster, but right now it seems like they're looking from the outside in on the major, and so they're going to really need to step it up here in these next 2 regionals to make it to that. At number 5, I have Quadrant. This is EXO, Cash, and Relating Wave. These guys got top 4, taking down BDS in Game 7 overtime in the quarterfinals. So fantastic showing from them. And I might have them a bit too high. They are probably one of the most inconsistent teams, as they did also not qualify through the top 16 qualifier. And I think it took them until 5 rounds to reach. Actually, no, it was probably 4. But it took them into the close qualifier to reach the main event, and then they went 3-2 through the main Swiss. So definitely an inconsistent team, but when they're on and they're clicking, they can take down world champions. So I have them at number 5. Number 4, moving down 1 spot, I have Moist Esports. That's Rise, Joyo, and Astral. This roster is still very solid, but they did get clapped by Carmine Corps, and I was underrating a team, so that's the only reason they really dropped. I think Moist are still in a fantastic spot. Number 3, and I have Carmine Corps. They actually just switched spots inevitably. This is Vatira, Itachi, and Exotic. These guys made the finals, ended up losing to Oxygen, but I do think this roster, now that they have shown that they can play up to the competition, Exotic hasn't really been on a starting roster before. The fact that he gets top 2 in his first event with Carmine Corps alongside Vatira and Itachi shows us these guys are not slacking off. They're going to be a title contender in Europe, and I'm looking forward to what else they can do in the season. Number 2, I have Team BDS, and it feels a little weird to knock down the former world champions into the number 2 spot, and I don't think I would have done it if they hadn't gone to 5 games in every single one of the series they played, with the exception of the best of 7, which went to Game 7 overtime. Through this team's top 16 qualifier, they were 3-1, got reverse swept by EG, so another reason why EG is still on this rankings at number 9 is that they did take down BDS first. But they went to 5 in every single game. They did go 3-0 through the Swiss stage. But the fact that they're playing every single team so close, I mean, sure, going to 5 against Moist makes sense. Although I don't think they ended up facing Moist. But like going to 5 against quality teams does make sense. That being said, going to 5 against Evil Geniuses, going to 5 against Guild, that's a little worrisome. So I do have BDS dropping to number 2, and a lot of that is the fact that I was really impressed by Oxygen this weekend. They jumped 5 spots into number 1. That's Archie, Jorias, and Oli. These guys really hit another level and were able to take the first regional for Europe, And so looking forward to seeing if they can keep this momentum as Archie and Joya's the Clappers reunion from back in the spring series. This is going to be an exciting roster to watch, and I hope to see them online. At this point, it's a very outside shot that they don't make it. So keep your eye on auction for the series for the season. I hope I can put them at number 1 again next week. That being said, some teams to look out for. Vitality, now that I have a close qualifier for the Fall Cup, we know that Vitality made the main event. They did not make the first main event. They actually dropped out of the rankings, so a little bit confusing from them. Sonics, I don't think they ended up making this regional. That's Tho, Mike Boy, and Metsanaris. They were able to make the first one, and they looked pretty threatening at times, but I don't think they will be in this next one. Solari, still to look out for. That's KDOP, Fairy Peak, and Chaussette. Veteran roster. A lot of talk around them is the fact that they are probably the best at threes rotations. And in the whole mechanical era where you just pick up a bunch of mechanical players and wait for them to just outclass your opponents, these guys are taking the opposite approach because they are not as mechanical as these new up-and-coming players. So they're just taking the fundamental threes, and it's actually working at times. They've had some decent results, including beating Vitality in that close qualifier that stopped them from making the main event. So still keep an eye out for that veteran roster of Solari. You also have Monkeys, who actually I believe went 2-3 in the main event. They were pretty close to qualifying for those playoffs. That's Matean, Arju, and Smokes. Still keep your eye on Smokes. He's the new player on this roster. Supposedly a new coming mechanical talent in Europe. I mean, there's plenty of those to go around, apparently. So this one, Smokes getting his shot on the Monkeys roster is definitely something to pay attention to. Endpoints, they went 3-0 through the close qualifier and a kind of surprising run, and then I think they went 0-3 in the main event. And then most recently, because we do know the close qualifier results, they also went 0-3, so they did not make the Fall Cup. So it'll be interesting to see. They probably won't qualify for the Invitational. I believe that's actually not a possibility for them, if I am correct in the fact that they went 0-3. But it's still definitely a important roster to keep an eye out to see what they end up doing. And then last but not least, Aogiri. This is a team I'm actually very excited for. They kind of squeaked by in the closed qualifier. They weren't invited into the top 16 qualifier. I thought they easily could have been in, and that was probably the most surprising snub from Europe. But they barely squeaked into the main event in the 8th seed from that close qualifier, which means they faced Oxygen in the first round, and actually are the only team this season to beat them. So I do have them on here. They did go 2-3 in the main event, so definitely keep an eye on this roster. It's VK Salen, Ocelon, and Stizzy. And I know Stizzy is getting a lot of compliments on like Reddit and everywhere else saying he's popping off when he's playing for this team. And I know Ocelon and VK Salen have always impressed me as well. They're no slouches either. So keep an eye on Aogiri as well. Aside from that, that's it. These are not preseason rankings. I forgot to edit the slide, but at this point, it's too late to re-record this. So thank you for watching, and I'll catch you all probably tomorrow with the NA rankings because I got to get those out too.